Ever feel like stepping into the world of investing is kind of like, well, walking into a massive, like maybe even a spooky library, with endless rows of stuff you don't quite understand.
Yeah, tons of people feel that way.
But that's why we're here. On today's deep dive, we're ditching the jargon and giving you the cheat sheet to make investing feel less like a mystery and more like, well, something you can actually do.
That's right. We'll break it all down step by step, no matter where you're at on your investing journey, whether you're just starting out or maybe you've dipped your toes in and just want a little more clarity.
Exactly. So let's tackle the big question first. What does investing actually mean? Like, we hear it all the time, but what are we actually doing with our hard-earned cash?
At its core, investing is really just about putting your money to work for you instead of letting it just sit there in a savings account,
Right.
earning practically nothing.
Right, because who wants their money just sitting around? It's like, get up, money. Go make me more money.
Exactly. And that's what we want to help you learn to do.
I like the sound of that, but how does that work, practically speaking?
Okay, imagine this. You have $100, and instead of spending it, you lend it to, say, the government through a bond,
Right.
right? And they might say, okay, we'll pay you back $105 after 5 years. That extra $5, that's your money working for you.
So is that like a 5% return then?
Exactly. You got it. And just like there are tons of different jobs, there are lots of ways to invest your money. You've got things like stocks, which are basically like owning a tiny piece of a big company.
So if that company does well, my little piece, it's like it becomes more valuable too.
Exactly. You got it. It's like imagine owning a tiny little slice of a really successful bakery, right? If they're selling out of their amazing sourdough every day,
Yeah.
your little slice, it's suddenly worth a lot more dough.
Okay, I see what you did there. So we've got stocks, which are like owning a small piece of a company. We've got bonds, where we're essentially lending money. What about those other options you hear about, like mutual funds? What are those all about?
Think of mutual funds like, imagine a professionally managed basket of investments. So instead of you having to pick each individual stock or bond yourself, a mutual fund is like a diversified buffet,
Ah, okay. So it's like not putting all your eggs in one basket.
100%. Diversification is key. And here's the cool part. You don't need to be loaded to get started.
Really? How much do you need?
With platforms offering fractional shares these days, you can start investing with $100, even less in some cases.
Wait, hold on. Back up a sec. What exactly are fractional shares? That's a new one for me.
So let's say you want to invest in a company, right? But their stock price is, say, $500. And you only have, say, $50 to invest. With fractional shares, you're essentially buying a piece of that $500 stock.
Oh, that's actually really cool. I never knew about that. Makes investing way more doable for, the average person. But I gotta be honest, even with that, just thinking about investing, even a little bit, still makes me kind of nervous. What about the risk? Like, isn't there always a chance you could lose money?
Totally get it, and that's a really smart thing to be thinking about. Risk is a real part of investing, and we'll dive into that a little bit more after a quick break.
Okay, so before the break, we were talking about, the elephant in the room when it comes to investing, risk. I think everyone's a little afraid of losing their money, right? So how can we, especially if we're just dipping our toes into investing, think about risk in a smart way?
Absolutely. I mean, risk is definitely a real thing, but it's not something to be totally scared of. It's more about understanding it and learning how to, manage it effectively. You wouldn't just jump into the deep end of a pool without knowing how to swim, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
You got to learn the basics, get comfortable, and then, gradually wade into deeper water.
So with investing, what are those first steps, those swimming lessons to manage risk?
Well, we've already touched on one of the big ones, diversification. Remember, it's all about not putting all your eggs in one basket.
Right, makes sense.
It's the same idea with investing. You don't want to put all your money into one single stock or bond. You want to spread it around.
Okay, so diversification, check. What else can we do to be smart about risk?
The other biggie, knowledge, my friend. The more you know about different investments, the risks involved, and how the whole system works, the better decisions you'll make.
So it's like, do your homework.
Exactly. Read books, listen to podcasts like this one, maybe even chat with a financial advisor if you want that personal touch.
Education. Got it. So diversification, education, anything else?
The third thing is huge, and it kind of ties everything together. It's all about shifting to a long-term mindset. Investing is a marathon, not a sprint.
Oh, I've heard that before. time in the market beats timing the market.
Yep.
But honestly, I'm not always sure what that really means in like practical terms.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful, isn't it?
Mm.
Basically, it means don't stress about trying to, like, perfectly time when to buy and sell. Like, buy low, sell high,
Yeah.
easier said than done.
Yeah, no kidding. So then what are we supposed to do?
A lot of times, it's actually better to just invest consistently over time. You ride out those natural market ups and downs.
So kind of like that dollar cost averaging thing we talked about earlier, investing a little bit at a time no matter what the market's doing.
Exactly. Like, think of it as putting your investments on autopilot. You're not constantly checking the market, stressing about every little diff.
Okay, that actually makes me feel a little calmer already. But going back to that whole time thing you mentioned, I often hear about compound interest, and I gotta be honest, I don't think I totally get it.
Ah, compound interest. It's like, well, it's kind of magical in a math kind of way.
Huh?
Imagine this. You've got $1,000 invested, and it's earning, say, 7% interest each year. So after that first year, you've made $70 in interest.
Okay, not bad. Not bad at all.
Exactly. But here's where it gets really cool. In year two, you're not just earning interest on that original $1,000. You're earning interest on like $1,070.
Oh, I see. Because
Yeah.
you're reinvesting those earnings.
Exactly. So each year, your money is basically making more money. It's like a snowball effect. The longer you let it roll, the bigger it gets.
Okay, that makes so much more sense now. It highlights how, like, even if you don't have a ton to invest right now, starting early is still super important. I wish someone had explained it to me like that, when I was like 20.
Right. Never too late to start, though.
So true. Okay, this is all amazing. But I'm curious, for those listening who are like ready to take action, what does a clear step-by-step plan look like? Like, how do they actually start investing?
You know what? It's actually less complicated than people might think. So step one, and we've touched on this, but it's worth repeating, is educate yourself.
Okay, so we've got step one, hit the books or, the podcast, the articles, whatever works for you. What's next on our Invest Smarter checklist?
Step two is all about getting clear on your goals. Why are you investing in the first place? What are you hoping to achieve?
Yeah, because it's got to be about more than just like seeing the numbers go up, right?
Exactly. Are you dreaming of early retirement? Maybe buying a house? Starting your own business someday?
Or maybe just like actually taking that dream vacation and not just, pinning it to a Pinterest board.
Exactly. Knowing your why will not only keep you motivated, but also help you make smarter decisions about where to put your money.
It's like having a financial roadmap, right? You know where you're going, so you can figure out the best route to get there.
100%. So you've got your investing knowledge, you set your financial North Star, what's next?
Time to actually invest. But like we were talking about earlier, starting small is totally okay.
Absolutely.
Right.
Don't feel like you need a ton of cash to get in the game. Even starting with like $50 a month can make a huge difference over time, especially with that compound interest magic working its thing.
Speaking of which, we haven't really dug into compound interest that much. Could you give us a quick rundown? Like, why is it such a game changer?
So imagine this. You invest $1,000, right? And let's say you're getting a 7% return each year. So after that first year, you've made $70. Not bad, right?
$70. Yeah, I'll take it.
Exactly. But here's where the magic happens. The next year, you're not just earning interest on that original $1,000. You're earning interest on $1,070.
Oh, because you're reinvesting those earnings.
Precisely. So each year, your money is basically making more money on itself, like a snowball getting bigger as it rolls down a hill.
Okay, that makes so much more sense now. It's like the money you make starts making its own money.
You got it. And the earlier you start, even with small amounts, the more time that snowball has to grow. It's pretty amazing.
Okay, so starting small, even if it's just a little bit each month, and letting that compound interest work its magic.
Got it. You're getting it. And the last piece of the puzzle, consistency.
Yes. Dollar cost averaging, right? Like we talked about earlier.
Exactly. Decide on an amount you're comfortable investing regularly, and then rain or shine, market ups or downs, you stick to it.
It's like setting it and forgetting it, kind of.
Exactly. It takes the emotion and the guesswork out of it. You're not constantly checking the market, stressing about every little dip. It's like putting your investments on autopilot.
I am loving this autopilot idea. Less stress, more growth. What's not to love?
Right. And honestly, that's one of the most valuable things you can do as an investor. Tune out the noise, the hype, and just focus on the fundamentals.
It's all about playing the long game, not getting distracted by every little blip in the market.
Exactly. Think of it like planting a tree. You wouldn't dig it up every day to see if it's grown, right?
Mm.
You plant it, you nurture it, and you let it grow.
This has been so helpful, really eye-opening, but I think one of the biggest takeaways for me is that you don't need to be like a Wall Street whiz to be good at investing.
Absolutely not. In fact, sometimes not being a Wall Street whiz can be an advantage. You're not overthinking it.
Right. You're just starting, keeping it simple, and learning as you go. So, as we wrap things up, what final words of wisdom would you leave our listeners with?
Don't let fear hold you back. The world of investing might seem a little intimidating, but it's more accessible than people think. With a bit of knowledge, a clear plan, and a little patience, anyone can do this.
I love that. It's not about being rich, it's about making smart choices with what you have and taking that first step.
Absolutely. And remember, the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time is now.
So no more excuses, right? Let's
Yeah.
get planting, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of investing. It's been a pleasure having you as our guide.
My pleasure entirely. Thanks for having me.
And to all our listeners, remember to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review if you enjoyed this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next episode of The Deep Dive.